It is day 7 of demonstrations in Iran following the death of 22-year-old Mahsa Amini, who died in police custody after being arrested by Iran's so-called morality police for not wearing her headscarf properly. Just listen to the passion on the streets. And for more on what this means for the regime and the Iranian people, of course, let's bring in Hadi Ghaemi, Executive Director of the Center for Human Rights in Iran. It's a New York City-based advocacy group. Thank you so much for joining us, Hadi.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. These protests, they started after the death of Mahsa Amini, of course, but they've expanded beyond just protesting the hijab. Many are actually aimed at the supreme leader of Iran. What are these protesters fighting for?
Yes, indeed. First of all, we should understand these protests are not in isolation. They are continuation, development, and evolution of 5 years of protests in Iran that have each time been met cruelly with gunfire and violence, resulting in the deaths of over 1,000 people during this time. And now, and even though they have killed and imprisoned many people, each time these protests keep coming back larger and more powerful. We're seeing the most powerful wave of it right now, which is obviously led by young women who are really fed up with the government's repression of their bodies and their personal space. But it is about gender equality, but it's also about the realization that the Islamic Republic no longer represents any of the interests of the Iranian people and is incapable of reform. Therefore, they see the very top of the political structure as the problem they're facing.
You know, Hadi, ABC News was able to ask a question of President Raisi, and when pressed about Amini's death, he said, quote, "It is an incident that is being investigated and that Iran's utmost preoccupation is the safeguarding of rights." Do you have any faith that this investigation is being handled appropriately?
You see, no, I have no faith whatsoever because indeed there is a crisis of impunity in Iran. There have been so many people killed innocently in the hands of security forces, whether during protests or as political prisoners in prisons or individuals like Mahsa. Not to mention the passenger plane shot down 2 years ago by Revolutionary Guards, resulting in the death of over 180 innocent Iranians. All of these are acts of state killing and murder. Not a single one being investigated or taken seriously. Not a single person has been held accountable. So Mr. Raisi himself, as a former head of judiciary up to 2 years ago and now president, is very much at the heart of this crisis of impunity. So anything he says in New York is just propaganda and one should challenge him. How about all the other deaths that have happened in recent months and years? What has their government done for them that we should believe you this time you're going to be different?
And I know that you know this. Iran has not seen protests this large since 2009. How do these compare?
Yes, there is definitely a direct link in terms of the way that people are using the streets to air their grievances and protests. However, in 2009, the political situation in Iran was very different. There was still a semblance of political plurality. There were two candidates who were very different from each other, one representing reform-minded factions. When the result of elections came out, it was a stolen election in the minds of many. There was much evidence. So large numbers of people came to the street asking, where is my vote? It was a very clear and direct grievance that they wanted to be addressed. And also it was highly concentrated in the capital, Tehran, and large cities. It was not as spontaneous and widespread as we're seeing now. Today, we're seeing over 90 cities and towns on their own with no leadership, no political party, no organization. Whereas in 2009, there was a political structure that was contesting the election. So in that sense, I see it as much more grassroots, much more widespread, and really a major challenge to Islamic Republic, because politics in Islamic Republic have disappeared. A very small group of people holding all the political, economic power. And it is a lot about wealth too, the wealth of the country being pillaged by the ruling class. And people are fed up with it. They don't see any prospects of reform. They don't see their dinner tables getting any better. Middle class is losing ground.
And we will keep seeing those powerful images coming in from Iran. Hadi Ghaemi from the Center for Human Rights in Iran. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.